So keeping in mind the second chakra, the sacral chakra, that spot just below the belly button, but in the middle of your being. Let's now see if each breath that we take in can go there. You're imagining the breath breathing down into that sacral chakra space, pelvic area. And we'll do that as we take our thumb into our hand and inhale into that area. And exhale from that area, just 2 breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Bring your hands together. 2 breaths, same thing. Hands up and either behind the neck or in front of the neck, whatever works for you. 2 breaths. Full extension as you breathe in. Slow hands to heart as you breathe out. Another breath here. Good, and we'll continue that way through our opening poses for our neck and shoulders. So sitting tall, unless you prefer to stand or sit on a chair, those are fine. Let's lift one ear, letting gravity help us get a stretch in our neck. And again, if you're able to bring attention down here to your second chakra with each breath, then please continue that. If that gets distracting, then just breathe. 2 big breaths on the side. And then over to the other side, other ear lifts, stretching the neck the other way. 2 breaths. Let's do each side again. Really giving our necks a chance to release, let go of any tension they're holding. Other side. And we'll go side to side now. You at something at eye level. 2 breaths here. Again, into the sacral chakra if you can. And off to the other side. 2 breaths. Once you're back at center, drop your chin toward your chest. And let's hold here for 3 breaths. Walk your eyes across the floor, up the opposite wall. As far as your eyes and your neck want to take you, looking above, open your mouth and breathe. Walk your eyes slowly back until your chin is on your chest again for 2 breaths. And let your head float to center and make a choice here. If you prefer to be standing, that's totally good. If you're sitting, you're going to rest one arm across your lap, bringing the other arm up to your ear. If you're standing, you'll just have one arm dangling, other arm up to the ear. Breathe in, so we make ourselves long across the ribs, into the armpit, reaching the fingers. Couple of breaths here. So starting to work with the concept here of the second chakra. Is there any part of this pose that you can savor? Any part of this that produces a sensation of enjoyment for you? Out of that side and change sides. And again, notice, be present with this pose. Is there anything here that feels good? Take one arm in front of you, the other arm off to the side of you. Drop your shoulders way, way down. And it's the side palm that's turned up towards the sky. The front palm is turned down towards the ground. We're looking past the side fingers and taking a little twist towards the back. Dropping the shoulders down the whole time. And again, this one can be done standing just as well. Let's do 2 big breaths here. Change sides. Bring the other hand in front, other hand off to the side. Drop those shoulders way down. And look past your side fingers and take a little twist towards the back. Good. Either seated eagle, if your arms allow for that, or simply grabbing the top arm using the bottom arm and pulling it across. Either way will work. Let's hold here for 3 breaths. And again, I pose the same question. Is there anything about this pose that you're able to enjoy just in the moment as you hold it? Once your 3 breaths are complete, we'll change sides. Same thing, maybe this side will be able to do eagle, or maybe it's better for you to hold the top arm with the bottom arm, your choice. 3 breaths, staying present, noticing if there's anything that feels good about this pose. We'll let that go. Bring the fingers behind you, interlace the fingers, pull the wrists apart, straighten your elbows, and start to lift the arms away from the body, up and away, and breathe. Release those fingers. Give yourself a hug. Make a little bit of motion through the low back as you're breathing here. The twisting allows for a warming up onto the spine. Breathe easy. And then change the arms. Excellent. Let that go. Give it a shake. We're going to do some standing poses. You may want your socks off so that you've got a bit more grip. Transition to standing. Excellent. We are going to take a big step forward. Front knee bent, back leg mostly straight. So right away, we're starting to get into our hips, maybe our hip flexor, because the second chakra also governs the area of the pelvis. We're going to work a lot with the low back and the hips today. We're keeping the outside of the front knee in line with the pinky toe. And if it's okay for you, you're up on the ball of the foot with the toes, with the back foot. Unless that doesn't work, then find a better position for your back foot. We're going to reach with the front fingers, drop our shoulders down, and take 3 breaths here. Keep the legs as they are, but we'll move the arms up, shoulders low, another 3 breaths here. And maybe you bend your front knees slightly more, allowing your center of gravity to get just a little lower. Good. We're going to transition the arms down to the floor. So get down there any way you like, or here's where you could also use a chair. So if you'd like a little more control over the big movements, you might put your hands on a chair in front of you here. If it's okay to bring them all the way down to the floor, then try that. Might need to change the distance between your feet. Now hold here for 3 breaths. Now bringing the knee down, you decide if you need extra cushion underneath the knee. You can roll your mat. You've got a double mat there, or grab your socks. Anything you need to make the knee happy. Point the back toe. Move the front toes forward. so that you've got a nice big angle through your inner thighs and groin. And allow yourself to settle into this pose. So while you can make this one extreme, you don't have to. And I invite you today to find a way to do this pose that feels like a good stretch. So a little bit of an opener, but nothing painful, nothing that you wouldn't be able to hold. So find where that is for you. And now let's see if we can savor it with several breaths. Beautiful work. We're walking the fingers back now so that we can lengthen the front leg. We want hip bone equality. So when I lengthen my front leg, I've got my one hip way out in front of the other. So I'm going to realign those hips. See if I can bring them so that they are equally forward. Your choice, whether the leg is lengthened straight or maybe needs to have a bent knee. Whatever works for you. Let's hold here for a breath. And see how it is to point toes towards the mat for a breath. And relax the foot for a breath. Let's do each again, pointing the toes towards the floor. Breathe. Relaxing the foot. Those ones are harder to savor for me because I have a lot of tightness in my legs. We're transitioning back to standing, so we can do the other side. So the other knee is forward now. Front knee bent, back leg mostly straight. I'm up on the ball of the foot in the back foot. Dropping your hip flexor, dropping your center of gravity as low as feels right for you to get a good stretch. Reaching with the fingers, dropping the shoulders through breaths. And then bring the arms overhead, shoulders still low, maybe bending slightly more with your front knee, and breathe. Transitioning hands down beside the front foot or onto a chair in front of you, either way. We'll keep all the knees off the ground for this first part. 3 breaths here. Feel free to make the distance wider or narrower between your front heel and your back foot. And we're bringing the back knee down. So here's where you add a little cushion if you'd like to. Pointing the back toes, moving the front toes forward and finding where this is a pose that feels good. So make any adjustments that you need to make to be able to just hang out. Notice what you're feeling in your body. Is there any part of this pose that allows the body to feel good, a little bit of pleasure? One more big breath. And we'll walk our fingers back. Letting front legs straighten out. Again, going for hip bone equality. Hold here. Point the toes towards the floor for a breath. Flex them. And then we'll do each again of pointing and flexing. Take your time. Now the idea is, if we balance our second chakra, if we're able to find the things that give us enjoyment and savor those things so that we don't continue to need more and more of them, that a certain amount becomes enough because we've been satiated with the enjoyment of that thing, that sometimes that leads to an appreciation of beauty or a need to express your appreciation of beauty. So this chakra is also associated with creativity. Let's transition here to hands and knees. Hands directly underneath your shoulders. Knees directly underneath your hips. And a little rounding and arching. Just checking in with the rest of the spine. And see if you can do it with your breathing so that you make the breath work with the pose. If you can find a rhythm. Pull your hips halfway back to your heels and off to one side. And see if you can find that really good spot through the low back or the hip area. Explore, move around until you've got a good spot. And take a breath there. And over to the other side, same thing. Excellent. We're going to go from downward dog into pigeon pose. So as we're working with the sort of low back and the pelvic area today, those are more challenging versions. So for those whose bodies are up for doing a plank, into a down dog, into a pigeon, go ahead and get started. If you'd like a modification, something a little more able to control, then let's try the one we've been working on, which is from hands and knees. You squeeze your kegel, squeeze your core, and start to lengthen your back leg out. Keep your toes anchored to the ground and press your heel away from you. So you get the length in the back leg, just like we do with downward dog. You get a little bit of strength in the arms. And if the wrists are bothering you, of course, you can come down onto forearms instead. And then you'll change sides if you're doing this version. Take the other leg out. For those who have gone into downward dog, you might be bicycling out the legs. And of course, always working on getting the hips a little higher and the hips a little further back.
So from downward dog, we are able to go into pigeon by lifting one leg up and swinging that leg in between the two hands. And I'll show you the alternate for pigeon in a moment. We want fingers spread, spider fingers kind of helping to take our weight. The back leg can reach way, way back. We're trying to make the front heel line up underneath the opposite hip joint. Actually, go the other way so you can see better. So the front heel of the front foot lines up underneath the opposite hip. And then we start to extend the spine. And we'll be hanging out here for over a minute. So settle in, making the adjustments you need to make. If you need a modification, I recommend laying on your back and bringing one knee into your chest, where you can hold on just underneath the knee and the other hand at the ankle. And your hands get to work your legs like a lever. And I recommend seeing how far you can bring the knee in towards your chest and seeing how far across the body you can bring the leg. Because that will give that same stretch of the pigeon into the glutes, into the hips. So this is your alternate if the other pigeon feels a little too strong today. Either way, now see if you can stay mindful and breathe. Those who are up with the head might choose to bring the head down if you like that position. And come on back up. Change sides. If you got into pigeon through downward dog, then head back to downward dog. If you got into pigeon on your back or from this extended one, you can just take a moment to rest until you're ready to change sides, lying on your back with the other leg. So downward doggers, hopefully your fingers are spread really wide. You've got that length from the very tip of your middle finger all the way up through your arms, past your shoulder blades, up high to your hips. And then let's take the other leg, the one you didn't lift last time, up into the sky. And then move the knee in between your two hands. Back leg way out behind you. And up onto the fingertips. And bringing some awareness now to the face. See if we can soften around the eyes, around the mouth, loosen the jaw. Make sure the neck is easy, no strain there. The shoulder blades slide down your back. Stay open through the chest, making some room for your heart and lungs. And then you're welcome to stay here. You're welcome to do the version on your back instead, or to bring your head down and continue breathing in and out from any of the areas that are starting to give a nice
enjoyable openness to you. And let's come on out of that slowly. As you're ready, you're going to transition to laying on your back now, please. And if you like a sip of water in between, that's all good. So, lying on your back, feeling the support of the ground underneath you. Take a moment to adjust yourself. Good. We're going to work with the core a little bit today. It's perfect with the second chakra. So reminder that we're talking about the Kegel, so that's the little muscles inside of you that though it feels like a difficult description for me, the best way to describe it is if you were to stop the flow of urine. Those are the muscles that are being squeezed for your Kegel. So we're squeezing those, squeezing the low abdominals and the low back muscles to give you a good, strong working core. And with those nice and strong, we're able to lift one knee up. And it's just above the hip. So knee in line with hip. Then lift the other knee up to join it. We're keeping our calves parallel to the ground. And then starting to work with some formations here, starting with a toe tap. So with the core engaged, got a nice strong core to support you. Take one knee down so that the toe aims towards the floor and then comes back up. Now maybe your toe doesn't tap, it's totally fine. We're just lowering the toe towards the floor and then using those strong core muscles to bring it back up. And see if you can have some awareness there as you do this. With the core, it's the core that's working to pull that leg back. Do these several times. And we'll switch legs now. Other toe taps. So you can keep the core engaged. Is your Kegel still working for you? Are the low abdominals still engaged? Especially as you pull the leg back to center. One more here. And then we'll take a little break by pulling the knees in towards the chest. You can pull your low back right off the ground there. That feels good. And rock side to side. Back massage. And then let's re-engage. So just like we did at the beginning, your feet are down, you're squeezing your Kegel, your low abs, your low back, keeping the core strong as you lift one leg and lift the other. And this time, zip the legs together. So knees are touching, thighs are touching, calves are touching, ankles are touching, legs are together. Keep the core strong and see if you can do the double toe tap. Both legs at the same time. Now, likely they won't go all the way to the floor. Don't let that be the goal. It doesn't matter. What we're trying to do is have control of the core, and you'll notice it right away. We do both legs together. So we're aiming the toes towards the tapping the floor, but they don't have to touch at all. We're just going part of the way and then using the core to bring them back. Make sure you're breathing. So we're activating this area of the second chakra. Let's do one more. And pull the knees into your chest again. Rock side to side. Good. So same idea, but this time we're going to have one foot down on the ground, anchoring you. The knee is still up. With the other leg, we're still going to have a nice strong core, and that strong core is going to allow us to stretch the one leg up towards the sky and then bring it back in. And that's the move. Stretching the leg skyward with a heel press, a flexed foot, and then bringing it back in. So the pelvis is quite anchored, stable. I'm not moving through the hips, through the pelvis. It's just the leg that's moving, flowing from the hip joint. The leg is moving out of the hip socket. Getting a little mobility, a little length through the back of that leg. Those of us with tight calves and hamstrings, starting to lengthen them, loosen them. Good, and we'll change legs. So put that foot back down on the ground. Take the other knee up. And then same thing, you've got good support anchoring. Your grounded foot, your hips are anchoring you to the floor so that just the leg is moving now to stretch the heel skyward and then bring it back in. Flexed foot, heel skyward. Bring it back in. Go at your own pace with your breathing. Keep noticing the core. The kegel is still engaged. Activating that area of the second chakra. Do one more here. Good. Bring both legs up again. So again, the core is engaged. This time, with our knees off the ground and the knees directly above the hips, we're going to attempt to keep the left side perfectly still. This is going to be very tough, but left side is perfectly still. We're only going to move the right knee out. It's going to open up off to the side and then close back up again. So keeping the left knee perfectly still. Start to open the right leg off to the side, just a little bit, doesn't have to go far. And use the core to bring it back to center. Don't move the left side, only the right. Opens and closes. Let's do a few of these, working to keep that left side so stable, so still, so strong because your core is strong. We'll do one more on this side. Good. Take that short break, bringing the knees into the chest, a little rocking side to side. Excellent. Back to the position. We're doing the left leg opening now. So now I'm keeping my right leg perfectly still, not moving it at all, but opening that left leg out off to the left side and then closing it back up. It's the only thing moving. Using the breath to help keep the core strong and engaged. So all of these strengthening type poses are made a little, you can challenge yourself by slowing them down. So when you slow them down, you really are forced to notice what is working when, at which points is it challenging. Let's do one more here.
And bring those knees in. Wonderful. Put your hands on your knees and just make circles. Let your hands draw your knees in a circle. First clockwise. You can make as big a circle as you want. The pelvis can rock. Get a little massage on the low back. And then let's go counterclockwise. Excellent. And put those feet back down on the ground so that we can go into some bridge pose. Again, activating this whole second chakra area. We want to spread our toes wide and really feel the big toes pressing into the mat. Then we want to use our core, so feel the Kegel, feel those low abdominals, low back, engaging to lift just your tailbone up. Our root chakra is up off the ground. The knees stay hip width apart. So do watch. The knees might want to open wider or draw closer together. See if you can keep those knees hip width as you now lift the next vertebra up and the next into a bridge pose. With your hips off the ground. Just do what you're able to do today. Maybe you're able to get part of the way up and hold for a couple of seconds, and then you want to come back down. That's totally good. Or maybe you've been doing this a while, like me, and you're able to hold up a little bit longer. Let's see if we can drop one hip 1 inch. So lowering one hip about 1 inch, and using the strong back muscles to bring it back up. Do the same on the other side. Go back and forth that way. We're strengthening the multifidi muscles in the low back. Excellent. And now one vertebra at a time, starting at the top vertebrae, comes down. Keep those knees hip width apart, even as you lower your spine slowly. And then lengthen your whole self. Stretch out your legs, stretch out your arms above your head. Make the longest version of you. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Is there anything to enjoy here? Take an extra moment to savor it. Excellent. Bring those knees back up. Cross the ankle of one leg onto the thigh of the other. And let's interlace our fingers around the hamstring of that leg, pulling it in to stretch through our glutes and hips again. 3 big breaths. Is there any part of this that feels good? And if so, just stay with it and notice it. Change sides. And interlace your fingers around the other hamstring now, pulling that hamstring towards you. 3 big breaths. Beautiful. Bring both knees into your chest. Open your arms out long along the floor and flop your knees over to one side with a thud. Feet all the way down onto the ground. Checking in with your shoulder blades, seeing if they can stay open, perhaps down on the floor. And let's do another 3 releasing breaths here.
Bring those knees back to center and lock them over to the other side. Make sure your neck is comfortable. So place your head wherever comfort allows. Perhaps looking the opposite direction of your knees, and 3 breaths. Excellent. Come on back up. And we're getting ready for Shavasana. You're welcome to find a lying position that is very comfortable, or to be more in a seated meditation position if you prefer. And today's meditation is inspired by David Pond's chakra book that we're using as we go through these weeks of a little bit of learning and focus on chakras. I've adapted the meditation from his. So get yourself really comfortable today. Check on your temperature. Do you need a blanket? Do you need to put a rolled up towel under your knees or make your head more comfortable? Today is the day to take that extra moment to really be in a position that you can enjoy. And as you settle into your comfortable position here, take a moment to notice your spine, the natural curves that exist there. Notice the places of your body that are in contact with the ground. Notice that the back of your neck is nice and long, your chin tucked in, and that your jaw is relaxed. The muscles of your face soft. Take a moment to scan your body for any remaining tension. Is there anything that you're able to let go of here? Turn your attention to your breathing. First, simply noticing that you are breathing. Without changing the breath at all, just observing the breath in, the breath out. Noticing how each breath is just slightly different. Maybe the length of the in and the out change a little. Maybe the depth of the breath or where you feel it in the body shifts in small ways. Each breath slightly unique. As you allow your breath to settle into a comfortable rhythm, I invite you to picture in your mind's eye your heart like a golden cup. Picture that the heart as a golden cup is upright, able to hold something inside it. See what you picture. Notice the size of the cup, the shape of the cup. The color of the gold that it's made. Is it shiny or a little more dull? Now, imagine all the people you have loved. All the people you have loved in your life. And all the people who have loved you. Picture the warm energy from these images filling your cup. Next, picture in your mind how many ways you have noticed beauty lately. Perhaps in nature, music, art, a child's laughter, anything that means beauty to you. Imagine the energy of all this beauty is also filling your cup. Next, imagine all the spiritual levels, if you have a spiritual belief or practice, or the universal levels, if that resonates with you. Picture any divine love or anything that you perceive as divine love coming to you and filling your cup. Now, imagine that that cup is accessible to you anytime you want to check in. That cup exists whether we're perceiving it or not, aware of it or not. But your heart cup, filled with love and beauty and a sense of the divine, is always available to you when you need it. Start to turn your attention again to your breathing. Notice your breath in and out. And now purposefully start to deepen your breath. Take a bigger, deeper breath in. And maybe sigh or audibly let that breath out. Do another 2 breaths like that. And start to wiggle your fingers, your toes. Just bring gentle movement back into the body. If you're lying on your side, turn yourself, if you're lying down, turn onto your side and push yourself up to sitting. If you're sitting, first you want to stretch the legs out for a moment, give them a shake. And then find your way back to a comfortable sitting position. That could be on a chair or any other way. Legs can be any position. And let's take one hand onto the opposite knee. You can do this with your legs stretched out as well. Or if you're sitting on a chair, the hand would come onto the opposite side of the chair. Take the free hand around behind you and with spider fingers, anchor yourself onto the middle of the floor behind you. Or if you're using a chair, the hand will wrap around and grab onto either the top of the chair if it's high backed or the back of the chair if you can get your hand there. Breathe in as you extend your spine tall. As you breathe out, just imagine a gentle twist. Breathe in, tall spine again. And bring your attention down to the low abdomen chakra, the sacral chakra, as you imagine this next twist. One more time, tall breathing in. Gentle twist breathing out. Come back to center. Change, other hand on opposite knee, side of chair. Free hand around behind you. Breathe in, tall through your spine. Breathe out. First, just imagining a twist. It's a very subtle movement. Breathe in, lengthening the spine. Breathe out, and allowing the twist to happen, keeping the attention in the low abdomen, second chakra. One more breath. Gently here. Come on back to center. Take your thumb into your hand and inhale and raise. Leave your shoulders low. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Hands together. 2 breaths. Hands behind the neck or in front of the neck. Full extension, breathing in. Slow hands to heart, breathing out. And a breath at the heart. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. I hope you take on the homework of choosing one experience this week that you can savor, that you can slow down and put as much enjoyment into as possible. So it could be anything from a beautifully crafted bath for yourself through to eating your very favorite food in a slow, mindful way, or any other experience that you want to
build into your life with more enjoyment.